And now we will do something even more fun. We will update our ADC guide. Patch 14.19 brought some huge changes to ADC. Every single ADC item nearly got nerfed, but not just every ADC item, nearly every item in the game. Riot really wants to reduce how useful gold is and overall make snowballing less effective and make tanks a bit better. And in general, kind of this is supposed to be a durability patch 2.0, but a durability patch that they're doing in a different way than how they would normally do it. You know what I mean? Like the durability patch last time, they just buffed everybody's base stats so that everybody had better base stats, so combat lasted longer. This time, they're reducing how much stat values items give, how much damage they do, to aim to reduce how fast people die and how much burst there's in the game. And just to preface, I think crit ADCs are the ones that have been hurt the most from these changes, from my point of view. But we'll go over every single champion and place them in the tier list. And we can start with Tristana, who I have been playing now quite a bit. I mean, Tristana got changed a lot more than every other champion did, because she actually got changes to try to make her viable in bot lane, and not mid lane champion. So if we look at her win rate, you might think to yourself, wow, this champion really sucks. She must be so bad. But if we dig a little bit deeper into it, I don't think it's that simple. There's a few things. First of all, it's important to note that she got a hotfix buff, which was her Q cost less mana and her W cost less mana, and her passive gives her more range. Pretty big hotfix buff. And if we look at that, the win rate she had before the hotfix buff, it was around 44.4 or 44 something, and now it's climbing up to around 46, which means that her actual win rate in these last 2 days after the hotfix is probably close to 48, 49, maybe even close to 50, as the win rate has risen quite a bit. I think he's a really good champ. From my initial testing, she's really crit reliant. I think Essence River first is the best. It's the highest win rate option. I think IE first is an option as well, but it's very expensive, right? Essence River is 3.15 and Infinity Edge is 3,600. It's pretty hard to afford 3,600 for your first item. Like here you can see that Infinity Edge has the best win rate, but people are buying Infinity Edge at 13 minutes while they're buying Essence River at 12 minutes. It's not usually that you get 500 or 450 gold in 1 minute. You know, that's pretty fast to get that. So probably the people that are buying Infinity Edge are a bit more ahead than the people buying, you know, the other items here. Because like Infinity Edge is 200 gold more than Collector, and people are getting it at the same time, you know? But I do think Infinity Edge is another option for sure. Her E, nearly all of her damage seems to be in her E. They've given the E such a crazy crit scaling. In my last game, I was doing like 800 damage at just 2 items with the E, and when you get the 4 items, your E does like 1.2 to 1.4k damage, which is just insane, right? That means you can one-shot pretty much any squishy. So I feel pretty comfortable putting Tristana into A or B tier, I think. Maybe she will rise as I play her more and figure out like how to play this kind of new Tristana and how good she is. But I definitely, from my initial POV and testing, she seems quite strong. She seems quite strong. He probably does have some tough matchups. I could maybe see it being a bit hard into stuff like Kog'Maw, into Draven, maybe even into things like MF. Not sure. Maybe into mages could be a bit hard as well, but in mages I feel like you can jump in and maybe try to all in them. But she's more of a scaling champion now, I think. Her base stats are a little bit weaker. Her range is up level 1, but it does feel like she needs to scale more, and she doesn't have as high base damage as she had before, as they're trying to, you know, nerf her base damage and push her out of mid lane. And her W and ult also have an AD ratio, which in my opinion makes her way more fun to play. It's just such a nice like dopamine effect when you feel like buying AD makes your whole kit so much stronger. It just feels really good. So I love the new Tristana. I think they did a great job with it. Only critique I have is they haven't fixed the E and ult. The E and ult have 25 less range than your auto attacks at all levels, because they forgot to increase it alongside her auto attack, which I assume is just something they forgot to do, because it scales up with when you get range per level, right? So it's really weird that she would always have less range on her E and ult, and it makes her feel a little bit clunky, because when you're trying to trade, if you try to get the E off, you might not be in range when you would be in range to auto, and it just makes you able to sometimes get spaced early game, and it's quite annoying. It's quite annoying. I hope they fix that. If they fix that, this champion, I'll be spamming it for sure. But yeah, then we got Smolder. I rated him really low last time, and I think he's still really bad. I think he didn't change too much with the item nerfs. I think, to be honest, he probably lost less than a lot of other ADCs did, but he's still 47% win rate. His win rate didn't change much, as you can see. But to be honest, this means, in reality, this means that his win rate went up. Why is this? Because if you look at the average Emerald Plus win rate, it's 51.4. This is 51.4 because it's Emerald players playing against people that are lower than Emerald, right? And they're winning more games than they're losing. But if we look at that on 14.9, that's actually 49.8. So Smolder actually gained around 1 to 1.5% win rate, which is not too surprising to me because I think champions in general that have a lot that is more about their kits and base stats, which I think Smolder's more about than the items he buys, are gonna benefit more from these changes. So I think Smolder is for me either C or D tier. I think in lower elos, he's better. But I think for now, we'll put him in C tier. I think if you can scale, the champion is still good. If you can scale, the champion is still good. It's not instantly win if you get to 30 minutes, 225 stacks, or like 300 stacks, 400 stacks like it was before. But you're going to be a pretty strong late game champion. You're going to be pretty tanky, especially if you're running the Grasp and the Trinity and Essence River and, you know, like some Bruiser items that you're kind of going to go with Smolder right now. And then we have Kog'Maw, really good. He was pretty good last patch and got even better. Really good lethal tempo user, loves the changes. I think tanks, while I haven't seen them that much in my solo queue games, I think they'll be being played more and more, which means I think we'll see Kog'Maw a lot more. I think he'll be the most popular ADC, or like he'll be one of the most popular ADCs once people start to play more tanks, because he's really good into tanks, and the itemization didn't get too nerfed for him, while he also got a new rune. So overall, I think Kog'Maw is really, really happy. And then we got Aphelios. I think this champion sucks, to be honest. I think it's the weakest Aphelios ever been. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure this is the weakest Aphelios ever been. He has the lowest win rate, as far as I'm aware, out of any like actual ADC. Like we have Corki, he's kind of a mid laner. Tristana, you know, we talked about how Tristana's win rate is actually higher because she got hotfix, right? But a lot of the games were played pre-hotfix. So I'd say Tristana is quite a bit stronger than Aphelios, right? And also like people are first timing Tristana, they haven't played her in bot lane in a long time. While with Aphelios, I don't think that's the case. I think there's very few people first timing Aphelios. Why would people first time Aphelios? He's been negative win rate for so long. He's quite a complicated character with a complex kit. It's mostly mains playing him, as far as I'm aware. And it's very rare that I ever encounter someone in my ranked games first timing Aphelios. And he still has this dog shit win rates. I think he just sucks. You can go Yuntal first on him. I think it's bad. You can go Collector first on him. I think it's bad. IE seems to be the only thing that is actually decent first item. But then you're buying an item that costs 3,600 gold. Rabadons. Like, imagine a mage buying Rabadon's first item. I mean, you do you, Beast, but one of my favorite champs. One of my favorite champs of all time. Not just an ADC, just like my favorite champ in the game. Then we have Zeri. I think Zeri is pretty good. Nah, it's not pretty good. She's okay. I think B tier. She, I think, is the best with lethal tempo. You should go lethal tempo on her. And static shiv first, and then I think Hurricane second, and then IE third. Something like that. But she's not that good. She's okay. If she gets to scale, she's still strong. Early game, quite weak. They removed a lot of her power from her right click, which made her stronger in all-ins, so her all-ins aren't that good right now. And also, I mean, she's just gotten nerfed a lot from mid lane. She lost the fleet, you know, like fleet got nerfed a lot. Now she has lethal tempo at least, so I think she's a bit better than she was last patch, but not by that much. I still wouldn't play her that much. She just doesn't have enough early game presence, and she also isn't a crazy good tank killer. So, B tier for me. Then we have Seraphine. I think Seraphine should be better than she was last patch. I haven't actually seen any Seraphine bots, but in my head, playing more supportive champions in bot lane should be better because gold is worth less, and then you can buff up your team while being lower economy and help your team that way. So I think Seraphine should be pretty good. In general, I think we can just do the mages in one fell sweep. I think mages in general are pretty damn good. I think Hui, maybe even S tier for Hui, to be honest. I mean, high A tier for Hui, and I think Karthus, high A tier. I think we'll all put them A tier, because I don't know if any of them really goes into S tier. Maybe Ziggs or Hui. Those are the champs that I would think of as S tier champs. But they're really good. But most people that play ADC don't really enjoy the mage playstyle. If you want to pick up one mage for your pool, I would recommend either Hui or Ziggs. If you enjoy playing Aphelios, you'll probably really like Hui. I love Aphelios and I love Hui. They're different, of course, but I feel like their kind of complexity and how much brain power you need to use while playing the champ is quite similar, and it makes it a lot more fun for me. So yeah, if your team needs AP, these champs are really OP, and I think they got nerfed quite a bit less than a lot of the other crit champs did, which makes me think that they're stronger than they were before. And then we have Samira. I think Samira's pretty weak. She really wants to burst people down now because people are more durable. You know, there's less damage in the game. She's going to lose quite a bit of win rate as a result. She went from 50% to 48, but important to remember that this went down. So her win rate didn't drop that much. I do think on her probably going either Yumus or Hubris first could be some cookage that could be really good. We'll talk a bit more about Yumus and Hubris first and why I think they can be viable options on a lot of ADCs a bit later. I think once we get the Jhin. No, Jhin is last. So okay, I mean, we can quickly go over Yumus a bit. So Yumus actually, alongside Hubris, is one of the few items that didn't get nerfed. So Yumu's only got nerfed for melee champs. Melee champs used to get 40 movement speed out of combat. Now that everybody gets 20, which is what range champs were already getting. And if we look at the stat stick, it is quite good. It's 2.8k for 60 AD and 18 lethality. To compare, Collector is 60 AD, 10 lethality for 3,400 gold. I have to remember it gives the crit chance, of course, but I don't know about you, but 600 gold extra for 8 less lethality and 25% crit. On a lot of champions, I think that's not worth. I also think the movement speed that Yumu's gives is a lot more valuable than the passive that Collector grants. So definitely something to consider there. And then Hubris went, actually it lost 5 ability haste, but pretty much unnerfed, right? Very small change. Hubris is 3k gold or 60 AD, 10 ability haste and 18 lethality. So 200 more gold than Yumu's. And it gives you, you know, 80 whenever you get kills. That stacks infinitely. I think Hubris can be a good snowballing option, and Yumu's can be a good option in general. 2.8k gold for a good item is very good in this economy after all the changes they did. On a lot of these champions, such as Samira, Draven, Jhin, maybe even Nilah, I would recommend going one of these lethality items first, as I think they're quite a bit better than a lot of the other options. But I'm inclined to put Samira here. I don't. She's high C tier, low B tier for me. High C tier, low B tier. We'll leave her here for now. Then we have Ezreal. Pretty decent, I think. I saw Dragdar was... I haven't actually played Ezreal, but Dragdar was talking about... So Dragdar is the best Ezreal EOS, Ezreal one-trick challenger, and he was talking about how Ezreal is quite a bit better this patch because there's a lot less movement speed in the game, and also because Cyrilda's Grudge is pretty good right now. So I could put him low A tier or high B tier. I'm down to put him low A tier, to be honest. I'm down to put him low A tier here. I'm down for that. I think he's still a strong laning champ. Manamune and Trinity did get nerfed, of course, but still, every champion got nerfed, so it's what it is. He can't abuse lethal tempo, but he's good into a lot of these champions that do play lethal tempo, I think. Then we have Twitch. Twitch, I'm not too sure about, to be honest. I've barely seen him. I think the changes should be like okay for him, not too bad. He probably still just goes Bork first, and he's kind of chilling. I think just B tier. A bit better than Zeri, I think, in solo queue in most games. A little bit less safe than Zeri, but has higher snowballing potential and higher kill threat with the stealth. Kind of similar champs in my head, like both are kind of scaling hyper carries. And then we have Draven. So I think Draven is quite bad, but with the Yumu's rush that I tried out on Draven, he felt quite a bit better. When I tried BT rush, didn't like it. It felt really weak. I think you need some more power. If you need to go like BT and then you go Infinity Edge second, that's what, 7,000 on 2 items? That's a lot of gold. And then you need boots as well. That's just so much gold. So hard to get to. I think low B tier. Better than Zeri, I think. I think B tier. I think his best rune is lethal tempo, but the new lethal tempo is way worse than the old lethal tempo on him. But you can say that for every champ. Just runes in general are way weaker than when the old lethal tempo was in the game. But I think middle of B tier for me. He feels kind of weak, and I also think when people play more tanks, Draven is a lot worse. He's not a very good tank killer. He's more about one-shotting squishies, and in general, he's very weak against armor stacking and all that jazz. And then we have Lucian here. I've seen some people say Lucian is decent. I think he's quite good with Nami Milio. They have very high base damage, so they didn't get as nerfed by the item changes. I think if it was with Nami and Milio, I'd be confident putting him here. Without Nami or Milio, I feel like he's maybe here, maybe even here, something like that. Low B tier, high B tier. But I think if we're gonna put him, let's say that you're playing him with either Nami, Milio, or Braum, then he's here. If without, here, I think that's fine, you know? So let's put him here, but this is with the caveat that you have Nami, Milio, or Braum. That are the best champions with him. If you're playing with other champs, he's quite a bit weaker. And then we have MF. So MF was the most OP ADC for a few patches, and then she got nerfed. But I've still been seeing quite a few high elo players play her, and I don't think she's bad. I think she's top of B tier, low A tier. She still has a really good laning phase. Her ulti is very useful. I think top of B tier. And then we have Varus. So Varus I actually haven't gotten to test out yet, and it's a champion that I've been wanting to test out, but it's also a champ that nobody has played in my games. It's a bit strange. Actually, no, I played against it one game. I think it's good though. I think it's A tier probably. I think lethality is bad. Don't go lethality. I mean, I guess you could go lethality with Yumu's. It could be okay, to be honest, actually, to go lethality. But I do think on hit with lethal tempo, that should be the way to go in most games. And I think top of B tier. For him. Maybe low A tier. Top of B tier feels more realistic. And then Senna ADC. So I put Senna ADC in GG tier, and then I actually tried out the tank Senna build. And I've now played that tank Senna build another time, And I have to say, it's okay. I think it's also better this patch because champions that are more about their kits than about items, like Senna, she cares more about her souls and how much damage those are giving her rather than items. And that's more what's giving her damage, right? I think Senna C tier, she's still better fasting than farming, but she's better than Aphelios. That's for sure. I would rather play farming Senna than Aphelios. Probably than Samira Smolder as well. So that's why I put her all the way to the left here. And then Yasuo. I don't know how Yasuo is with the new lethal tempo. I'm not sure. Mid lane, it's not so good. Seems like Grasp is still the best on mid lane. But I think on bot lane, lethal tempo Yasuo should be pretty good because you can actually all in and fight to the death with your engaged support. So I think B tier here. I think B tier, maybe even A tier, but it's hard for me to judge some of these champs. Like Yasuo, for example, I haven't actually seen in bot lane a single game. And I also don't play Yasuo, right? I think it's a bit of a one-trick champ. It's a bit hard for me to judge on this one. I might be a bit wrong. And we have Caitlyn. So Caitlyn is another champion that I think should go either Yumus or Hubris first, and then transition probably into like LDR, Collector, or IE second. I'm not fully sure what's the best. I think LDR second is the best and then IE third, but we'll need to test a bit more on most of these champions that go Yumus first. Not sure where I want to put Caitlyn. I think she's pretty weak. I think she's honestly pretty damn weak. Inclined to put her in C tier or low B tier. I just don't know why you'd pick her over Jhin right now. I don't know why you'd pick her over Jhin. I think Caitlyn is pretty weak. Very inclined to put her right here. Very inclined to put her right here. When you face a Tom Kench Thresh bot lane, do you build LDR first item on Draven? Tom Kench Thresh bot lane. I hope you win that game. But no, I wouldn't go LDR first ever, I think. Just not a good first item. Has a shitty build path, and you just do more damage if you go AD first item. Kalista? Ooh, Kalista I think is pretty good, actually. Kalista I think is actually pretty good. The current highest rated ADC on E West is spamming Kalista every single game. Every single game he's spamming Kalista. He's duo with a jungler, and they're both rank 1 and 2, right? But he is having a lot of success on Kalista, and it makes me think that, you know, if this guy's winning every single game on Kalista, yes, duo Q, ADC jungle, early season, all that jazz, right? But the champ surely has to be pretty good, you know? It has to be pretty decent. So I'm thinking Kalista low A tier. I'm thinking Kalista low A tier. The lower elo you are, the worse Kalista is. She's very hard, need to snowball early game. The longer the average game goes on, the worse she is. I think for high elo, she's A tier. For low elo, she's bottom of B tier maybe, or even C tier. But I'll put her up here. This is where I feel like she would be rated and how I feel she would be in my games. She seems pretty strong, really good now with lethal tempo. Some people have been saying PTA is better on her. I don't think so. I think lethal tempo gives her a better early game, better scaling, just works great with her. It was such a good rune on her. Back with the old one, of course the old one was way better, but still. Then we have Vayne. So Vayne in high-low, C tier. Vayne below Caitlyn. I think Vayne benefited a lot of these changes. There's just one problem. One little problem Vayne has. Her biggest enemy is unfortunately PvE. She can't clear minions. She's the only champion in the game without any AoE. And she plays the role of ADC, which is the most about farming and clearing minions. A little bit backwards, you know. Riot Games didn't have it fully figured out when they designed Vayne back in the day. So she's ended up being a better top laner now for... what has it been, 2 years, 3 years? It's been a long time, and I hate to say it, but she's still a better top laner. I think we'll put her in between C and B, low B tier, to have a middle ground between high and low elo. But if you're low elo, and when I say low elo, I mean like below diamond, Vayne is quite a good champ, I think, to carry on, because as long as the enemy team doesn't punish your lack of wave clear and your bad early game, and you do get to scale, she is one of the best scaling champions in the game. She doesn't have as much damage as some of these other champions have, but she has insane mobility and stealth every second, so, and she gets insanely tanky. It's like, once you get 3-4 items, it's one of the easiest champions to carry on in the game. And then we have Nilah. Nilah, that's a weird champ. That's a very weird champ. I don't know where I want to put Nilah. She's such a weird champ. It's such a weird champ. I don't like Nilah. I used to like Nilah, but I've always felt she was clunky. The way the E works is just so clunky to me. I hate it. I don't like her. I don't like her. But is she strong? That's the question, right? It's not just about my opinion of the champ. I'm not sure. I have not played versus a single one because there's like 5 Nilah players on the whole server. Her win rate is pretty decent, but she does like to build lethality. People are more tanky. There is also the Essence River build. Let's put her alongside Vayne, low B tier. Let's put her here. I'm not too sure about Nilah. I haven't played her. I haven't played against her. In my heart of hearts, I think she shouldn't be that good. I think she should have been weaker from the changes that happened rather than stronger. But she does still allow your support to scale. She gives a lot of free XP. And we have Xayah. I think very strong. I think very strong. Barely got nerfed. Barely got nerfed because she still gets her, you need to go static first though. You need to go static first, and then she still gets her Q evolve at around the same time. You need static and pickaxe, and you get Q evolve. She does get her E evolve a bit slower, but that's not a big deal. The Q evolve is the most important, and she gets W evolve at the same time as before. So I think really good. I think she's good with lethal tempo. She's still good with PTA. Don't go fleet, 2 nerfs. Yeah, solid, solid. Then we have Xayah. For me, top of B tier. She's good with lethal tempo, I think. I haven't actually played her this patch, but If you guys remember, I played her a lot last few patches, and I was going kind of yapping on and on about how this champion is kind of like sleeper OP. Because if you have a game where enemy has 4 or 5 melee champions and Xayah is a good pick, she's super OP. It can be hard to get those conditions. A lot of the time you pick ADC early, you don't get to see enemy champions. If they pick a lot of range, Xayah is really useless. But if you are in the situation where you're picking ADC 4-5 or 3-4, and you get to see around 3 enemy champions, and they're all like, if they have Silas or Kali or like Diego or like a lot of melee champions that are all diving onto you wanting to kill you, Xayah is a great pick, fantastic carry. Essence River first is really good on her, into Navori, into IE, and she's gonna be pumping damage, good CDR, good everything. Sivir, kinda useless. C tier, not much to say. She's good at clearing waves, not that good at killing champs. Worse than Caitlyn, I think. More brain dead than Caitlyn. I think here. Just kind of weak. Ashe. I haven't seen much Ashe, but she should be here, I think. She should be really OP. Because ADCs do less damage, so that means utility from ADC is higher valued. Should be really good with lethal tempo. Fine with like the on-hit items that didn't get as hard nerfed. Should be really good, I think. Jinx. Still just a good solo queue champion. They really want this to be like one of the go-to beginner ADCs that people will always have a decent win rate on. She's always going to be decent, but I do think she struggles a bit with the first item selection right now. You can either go Kraken, IE, or Yuntal, which are all pretty bad options. But just due to the nature of the champion's kit, I think she's still fine. But good luck figuring out a build that doesn't feel like thrash, to be honest. But if you get 3 items, you get the scale, you're still going to be really strong. And she's pretty good with lethal tempo as well. Then we have Jhin. Last S tier champion. I think no ADC is Z tier. There's no ADC that I feel like is that OP that can just like single-handedly win you the game. I think ADCs in general are quite a bit weaker on this patch than they were before. In general, gold is worth less, and ADCs are the role that usually gets the most gold on average. So we got hit the hardest, boys. That's how I feel, at least. Jhin, though, I think is still really good because you can go Yumus, Dark Harvest, and then go LDR, IE, and you're just popping. It's like the same damage as the Collector, IE, LDR that I was doing before. Yumus instead of Collector, because Collector got really nerfed. And you're sitting on like really good items. You do a lot of damage. You get stack the Dark Harvest, get the dopamine. You're being chilling. But yeah, ADCs in a bit of a weird spot. I hope they kind of figure out some better way to have crit ADCs itemized, because I feel like IE used to be the best first item for a lot of crit ADCs, but they seem to really not want people to rush IE with the fact that it costs as much as Rabadon. So I hope we figure something out other than telling people to buy Yuntal first item, because I think Yuntal is just a really bad item. I don't think it's a good item. I think you buy IE first so you can scale, but you buy Yuntal first and it doesn't even scale. It just gives you flat damage, but the flat damage isn't even that much, and you're buying an item that only works on crits, but you buy it as your first crit item. It's just a really weirdly designed item, and I hope they find a better way to make crit itemization more enticing and better for the ADC players, because right now it's pretty lackluster, I think. And I think having to buy lethality items first is not a good solution. Those are my thoughts on the patch. Overall, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think damage was a bit high, I guess. I didn't really mind it, but I think snowballing was quite high. So doing this should help with snowballing as well. Although right now snowballing is going to feel really bad probably in your games because the matchmaking is so unbalanced because it's early season and all the elos are kind of mushed together. So you'll have like diamond players against platinum players, you'll have master players against diamond players, challenger players against master players, all that jazz. That makes the matchmaking quite wonky and means that your games are quite one-sided. So it might look like snowballing hasn't changed when in reality it probably has quite a bit, but it will take a few weeks until we actually get to experience that. You know what I mean?